It's been longer than I meant for it to be since the last video, but I got sick, which did just wonders for my voice. I'm still not back to 100%, but so probably not a lot of singing today. I have noticed my voice hasn't gone any deeper, but my default speaking tone seems to be deeper than it was without me consciously making an effort for that. And I feel like I have more resonance on the bass notes than I did. And most of those observations are from right before I got sick, since I haven't done much singing since. Did not go to the gym after my last tee shot. That's not a great thing for future reference. And the one before that, my hands were shaking and the needle moved a little bit. Both of these have resulted in really bad, kind of an internal bruise that lasts for about a day and a half that it really hurts. It's really weird because it's a bad enough bruise, it hurts just walking. It's like a flu shot, that kind of level of pain, but you're walking on it, which is not an issue with the flu shot in your arm. But, you really expect with as bad it hurts, I keep looking for the bruise and there's nothing on the skin surface. Like, you can't even find the injection site. But boy, can I feel it. So obviously going to the gym after the tee shots is a good plan. Once I'm back to full health, I intend to continue that. It's probably good to have an incentive to keep going to the gym. I do mean to keep that up, but I'm a lazy bastard, so that's I have to push myself. So it gives me one more reason to push. A lot of thoughts on current events. I don't know if this is the place for that or not, but it's a kind of a journal diary. A lot of thoughts about the things going on at Standing Rock. I grew up in Washington State, and there are two factors to what's going on there that make me think. I grew up with a very subtle, hidden, creeping racism against Native Americans that took me years to really notice and try to fight. They're a big group out there, and it seems like culturally racism exists against a group only when that group is large enough to be perceived by another group as a threat. There wasn't a lot of racism against black people where I grew up because there weren't a lot of black people. That's a terrible fact of how racism works. We didn't see Native Americans a lot. I know there were a lot of them where I grew up. I know that was a large part of the culture, but they were kept separate and away on the reservations, and that's terrible all by itself. So, in my later years living in Washington, and since I've moved away, I've become a lot more self-aware, and it bothers me that I grew up with that and for so long wasn't aware of it. The other factor is I know firsthand the dangers of that kind of a pipeline. Where I grew up was a city called Bellingham, and if you look it up, just Google it, one of the first things that will probably come up is the Olympic pipeline explosion. And I lived through that. A lot of people lived through that because only 3 people died, all of them kids. But it was a prime example of what happens when that kind of pipeline leaks into a river, and it's very volatile. For a brief period, while all the phones were knocked out and everybody in the city was terrified, I was not home when it happened, but I was in a location where I could see roughly where my house would be further uphill, and for probably an hour or so, I thought that my house had been destroyed and my parents were dead. I don't like talking about this event. It's been, I don't know, 17, 18, 19 years now, and it's still upsetting to me just to even think about it. You don't know until you've been through that kind of situation just how traumatic it is. The sky turned black. It was apocalyptic. I'm not exaggerating. You can see the photos, but they still don't quite give the scope of what it was like being there, that the whole sky turned black at midday. And people thought that loved ones were dead, and some were. That was a pipeline that people did not know it was there. Residential had been zoned over top of it. But having lived through that, knowing what I know now, I would be leery of living somewhere where that was a risk again. And these people are fighting to keep that risk away from their homes. How is that wrong? And the reason they're having to fight is because other people don't want that risk near their homes. And the other people simply have moral, cultural, and political power to say no. That's the only difference between the area they initially wanted to put the pipeline in and the area they're trying to put the pipeline now. That's all it is. I recognize that all fuels, all fossil fuels, all sources of electricity have a risk to them. There's no way for us to live as we live now and not have a negative impact on the environment. And obviously I love my computer, I love my internet, I love my electricity. But I think it's unrealistic to expect that we would give these things up. But there are certainly ways that we can be less dependent on them, that we can reduce our impact. I mean, maybe that's the best we can hope for in a realistic setting. It would be great if we could all go back to homesteading. I mean, we would love to do that. We've been working towards that for years. But that our society as it is isn't set up to make that an easy thing to do. At this time, we're simply not financially able to make that investment that we would like to make to set ourselves up to be in a situation where we don't need as much reliance on buying goods. Anyways, that's enough politics. The other people that my thoughts are with today is people who are transgender, lesbian, gay, bi, genderqueer, whatever, and their families are not accepting, and they don't have anyone that they can be safely, happily with on this holiday or any holiday. I have, as of to date, not explained to the in-laws, although we're pretty sure they strongly suspect. My parents know, but they're in another state, so they're not physically here. We're trying to figure out how to broach that subject, but it has to be broached, because while I'm not showing a lot of physical changes yet, I will be. I'm 7 weeks on T now. I've got my follow-up meeting with the endocrinologist next month, so we'll assess at that time. I don't know if I need to change in dosage or if I just need to be patient and wait. There's only so much I can expect this early in. Anyways, I hope that for those people who do not have somewhere safe to be on this holiday, people that they can be safe with, that is a short-term situation. Sometimes coming out to people is what's safest, sometimes it isn't. Part of the reason I've been lucky in that is because of my age, that I have a little more control to pick and choose. I'm not dependent on my parents. I'm not dependent on anyone except for my girlfriend for support living, for housing, for food. But not everyone is that lucky. I believe that I have friends who may not be that lucky. And if they were closer geographically, I'd invite them here. I'm thinking of you guys. We'll see what the future holds. Everything's still up in the air politically. Honestly, I've been avoiding some of that while I've been sick. There's only so much I could deal with while I was hacking and snorting at the lung. Anyways, not much singing today, but wanted to leave this video with something. I'm a sap. I know this isn't from them, but I picked this up from the Muppets Christmas album. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. By and by. Stay safe. Try to enjoy the holidays, even though the world is shaky. I'm thinking of you.